share with you my personal opinion and review of the Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons palette. This is a new palette that came out in early December and I have been playing with it for a while. It was an early Christmas present from my fiance and I have been playing with it and trying different looks, and I actually am going to show you 4 different looks that I created with this palette. From really neutral matte looks to more darker smoky looks, kind of like the one that I have on. I'm going to be showing you how I did this today, and I also have a really bright look to show you. So I wanted to kind of try something different with my review today and do 4 different looks and see how you guys like that, as opposed to how I've done other reviews where I just talk and swatch, or like my Gwen Stefani palette review where I showed you one look. I just couldn't help myself. This palette was so pretty, and I mean, look at these colors. There's just so many looks that are screaming to be created, in my opinion, from this palette, and I couldn't pick one to show you. So I wanted to try, and I wanted to try also and see the variety of looks that I could get. Like, can I get a really bright look? Can I get a really dark smoky look? Can I get a really neutral matte look or a medium matte shimmery look? You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to see what I could do, and I was able to do quite a lot with this palette. So I'm gonna get into the looks really quickly and show you the looks that I came up with, and then after that I'm gonna share with you my opinion on the palette. I'm not even gonna do pass or fail because it's already a pass. I'm not even gonna pretend like that there's any mystery to that. Like, I love this palette. I'm gonna compare it to the other 2 chocolate bar palettes which I own, and I'm gonna show you some swatches and just give you a little bit more information at the end of this video. So stay tuned for that, and if you want to see 4 looks that I created, just keep on watching. So starting with the matte brown shade Almond Truffle, and I am packing that all over my lid, and I do have primer on my eyelids already. Then I'm taking the shade Bordeaux and I am placing that directly on the crease, and I'm basically kind of using it to carve out my crease because I have sort of hooded lids and sometimes I need a little bit more definition, so that is what I'm doing. Then I'm taking the shade Divinity and I'm laying that down on my brow bone as a base and above the crease shadow. And then I'm taking the shade Pecan Praline and I'm using that to blend the 2 shades together and really blend out that crease. Then I'm taking the shade Cashew Chew and I'm actually placing that on the lid as a lighter shade to kind of accentuate the lid and create almost like a cut crease effect. Then I am just lining my lower lash line with the shade Bordeaux. And I'm taking the shade Almond Truffle and I am using it to sort of blend out the lower lash line. I think that created a really pretty effect. And that is look number 1 completed. And for look number 2, I'm starting with Mocha and placing that all over the lid, right once again over primed eyelids. Then I'm taking that shade Divinity and I am blending out the lid shade and I'm placing it all over the brow bone and the rest of the eye that doesn't have shadow on it. Then I'm taking the shade Molasses Chip and placing that on the middle part of the lid. And I'm really packing that on because I want the shimmer to really stand out. So I did end up putting quite a lot of that on the lid. Then I'm going in with this shimmery purple shade that is called Black Currant, and I'm putting that on the outer corners and sort of the outer crease as well, and really blending that out to create a lot of depth and dimension. Then I'm taking the shade Almond Truffle and a fluffy eyeshadow brush and blending everything out. Then I use the shimmery highlight shade called Satin Sheets to highlight the inner corner. Then I took the shade Molasses Chip again and finished lining my lower lash line. Then, because I loved it so much in the previous look, I used Almond Truffle again to blend out that lower lash line. It's just probably my favorite shade in the whole palette. It's just really beautiful and neutral. Then I'm using a bit of Satin Sheets to highlight my brow bone. And I'm blending it out with the Divinity shade, that matte cream shade. And that is it for look number 2. And for number 3, I started with my NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in the shade Milk, which is a matte white cream base, and I place that all over my eyelids, and then I'm going right in with a bright pink shade called Totally Fetch. And I really just pack that on, and you can see that I dipped my brush in quite a bit and really just worked until all of the white was covered and I had a good solid layer of that pink shade on my eyelids. And I avoided the space in my inner eye so I could use the shade Cotton Candy and place that on my inner corner of my eyes to create a really pretty gradient effect. Then I'm blending out the upper lid with the shade Almond Truffle, my favorite matte shade, and just sort of softening any edges and creating another base. Then I'm taking Bordeaux again in the crease, and again I'm just sort of drawing it on exactly where I want it, and it's over the Almond Truffle, so the Almond Truffle shade is creating kind of a soft base to help the shadows blend, and then I'm just using my big fluffy brush to blend everything out. Taking the shade Sprinkles, I am highlighting my brow bone. Then I'm taking the shade Cashew Chew and blending everything out. And these shadows did have quite a bit of fallout, so I am cleaning up the edges with a little bit of concealer. And that is it for look number 3. Taking a Maybelline Color Tattoo as a base and placing that on my lid. And then I'm going to go in with the shade Cafe Au Lait, the shimmery taupe, beautiful shade, and place that all over the lid. Once again, packing that on pretty thickly to get a nice coat on there. Then taking the shade Pecan Praline, and I am blending out the upper edges of the lid with that, and kind of also using it to create shadow in the crease. Then taking the shade Earl Grey, which is sort of a grayish blue, and just sort of dotting that right on the outer corner. I didn't want to get too much pigmentation, so I start with a little bit and I kind of work my way up, and that's a good tip if you're dealing with darker colors, because of course it's easier to add more than it is to take it away once you've added it. Then I'm very gently blending the edges together where the two shadows meet. I do want an obvious difference in the shades, but I want them to also look like they're blended and kind of flow naturally. Then going in with Cafe Au Lait again and putting that directly on the inner corner. Then I am lining my waterline with a black eyeliner, and I'm going in with the shade Earl Grey again right over that black eyeliner and placing the Earl Grey shadow, which created a really pretty blue, bluish gray effect on the lower lash line, but it stuck right to that black shadow in the waterline, and I just love how it turned out. Then I'm taking the shade Divinity and placing that on my brow bone to highlight that area. And I am blending it out with a fluffy brush. Alright guys, that is the final look. So a brief overview of this palette. This is the packaging. So this is the box that it came in, very similar to the other chocolate bar palettes, just packaged beautifully, very creative, like candy, kind of like makeup is to us, right? At least to me. And then on the back it has the colors and stuff like that. It also came with a card that has 3 different looks on it that I'm thinking about recreating those looks as like separate tutorials. So please let me know in the description box if you would like to see that, because that could be like a little mini series that I do, because I just love this palette so much. I really do. And I think it would be fun to create those looks and see how that works. So let me know if you want to see that. As you can see, they are heart-shaped, which is one main difference from the previous chocolate bar palettes. Those were just sort of rectangles, and these are a little more fun, heart-shaped, which I actually found really nice for using with eyeshadow brushes. I found that it works almost better than using like a rectangle or square shape, because the brush just fits perfectly into the little curve of the heart here, and it makes it really easy for application. So that's a plus, you know? You never know when you get creative with like shapes and things how it's gonna work out, but I think it worked out really well. And as for the shade selection of all of the Naked palettes, this one is my absolute favorite as far as the shade selection. I think that they did the best work as far as selecting the shades. I love the mattes they chose. I love the combinations that you can get with this palette. I feel like you can get so many different neutral matte looks, but also you can get so many different bright looks with combining the mattes and the bright shades and the colorful shades, and I just love it so much. I could just say that over and over again because it's so true, but I really do love it. I love that they have some warmer gold shades and then a lot of cool shades. It's mostly cool shades, but I do think that you can get some warmer looks with this as well. They have like the really neutral like taupe, shimmery taupe, and then they have a pinky gold, white gold pink, and then they have like a really light pink, medium pink, a bright pink. This Earl Grey shade is so beautiful. That's what I'm wearing on the outer corner today, and that is, it's called Earl Grey, so I expected it to be almost like a green gray. It turned out to be almost more of a blue green kind of a shade, and it's so pretty. It's just unbelievable. I really love it. Same with the pink shade, such a fun color. And the purple is also really fun. Now, I have to quickly say that the pigmentation on these is not as good as their previous palettes on some of them. I did find that it took a lot of work to build up the pigmentation. None of them are disappointing, none of them are unmanageable, but I did find that it took a lot of work to get the color. Like for this pink one, when I initially tried doing my look with the pink shade, I ended up having to scrap that complete tutorial because it just wasn't showing up. I had an eye primer on, but it was a skin toned primer, and so the pink just wasn't showing up enough. It just kind of made my eyelids look like swollen and red, but not like I was wearing an intentional pink eyeshadow, you know what I mean? But then I ended up using the NYX eyeshadow pencil in the shade Milk, which is just a matte white cream eyeshadow underneath, and then I put the pink on, and then it really popped and really worked. So it is workable. It is possible to make these shadows work. It's not low maintenance. It does take some work, but it is possible, and when you get those looks, they are absolutely beautiful. I find that these shadows blend together very well. I was very impressed with that. There is quite a bit of fallout on some of them. The Earl Grey and the Cafe au Lait in particular both had a lot of fallout, glittery, chunky fallout. Kind of like the Too Faced Holiday palette, some of those more colorful shades had a lot of fallout. This is similar to that, but once again, it doesn't make it unworkable. It just means that you have to be aware and be a little bit more careful. The purple shade wasn't extremely pigmented. That one and the pink one are probably the least pigmented of all of them. And once again, that just means that you have to build them up. You probably want to use a somewhat sticky base when applying them to your eyelids, because that will make the colors stay and that will make it buildable. I didn't have any trouble building up any of these, and there's no disappointing shades. All of the shades, like I said, I really love. That's probably the main difference for me with these as opposed to the other Naked palettes, is that in each of the other Naked palettes there was a couple of disappointing shades, but in this one I love them all. I think this is going to be one of my go-to palettes for 2016, especially around Valentine's Day. I'm gonna get a lot of use out of this palette. I can already tell. It does smell like chocolate, like the other Too Faced palettes and some of Too Faced's other products as well. It is infused with cocoa powder, which is what gives it that smell, and I love it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching it. I really appreciate you guys, and I will talk to you again soon.